So now that you have your base template, you're probably ready to install a hair system. Now, if you have ordered a custom hair system from LaVivid, you may already sent in your hair template, so that way it is perfectly cut to your dimensions. There is, however, a chance that you have not done this and that you ordered a stock unit from LaVivid. That is perfectly fine. The reason that we made a template is so that no matter what kind of hair system you buy, for all of time, you will always have your particular hair system template, and you can cut down a stock unit to that specific specifications. Now right here what we have is a unit from LaVivid. This is the Eros model. It's an 8x10 unit in a color of 420. So this is medium brown with 20% gray, and then it is a poly thin skin 0.03 millimeter thickness. So this right here is an extremely believable looking unit. This is a fantastic unit for you to try out. And when you first get a unit, you do have to obviously cut it down, which is what we're going to do in this video. We're going to talk about how do you take this right here, how do you transform a stock unit into something that is wearable directly for you. So you're going to need a couple things in this video. First, you're going to need your hair system. You are probably going to need a bowl or a circular surface like this mannequin head that I have my hair system on here today. You're going to need a razor like this. You can use a box cutter, or you can even get a pair of scissors. There's another way to do this that I'm going to show you that requires scissors. And you're of course going to need your template. Those are really all of the different items that you are going to need in this short video. So before we get started, let's talk about hair systems. Now, when you first purchase your hair system, it is going to arrive and it's going to look something like this right here. We see the base is completely untouched. It's in great condition. And we have the hair, which has been uncut, and it is currently ready to go. Now, one of the first things that you need to look for when you're looking at the base of your unit is what is the back and what is the front, meaning what's the back of your head, what's the front. On a LaVivid unit, you will generally see a code on the back of your unit. This signifies the back right here. It has some numbers and letters, which means this is this particular hair system. So you know that's the back, and inversely, this is the front up here. Now, the first thing that we have to look at when we get a hair system is on the front of most hair systems, you are going to find that they have somewhat of a lip. You'll often find that they have a part of the hair system which does not contain any hair. It's a little lip on the front. There's a little extra bit of plastic, it might be a little bit of extra lace, and it's your job to cut down that extra lace. Now, we can do that with either a pair of scissors or a razor. Now, it's going to be pretty hard for you to see simply because the hair is long, and because it's long, it's kind of covering up some of this area right here. So I'm going to try my very best to make it so that you can see what I'm about to do. Now, there's two ways that you can go about cutting your hair system and go about removing that little bit of extra detail or fabric at the front of your unit. You can either do this by cutting it from the top, this side right here, or flipping it over. For this particular unit, I am choosing to flip it over right here. Now, you can use either scissors or you can use a razor. Now, for this particular hair system, I am about to use a razor just because I feel like I have a little extra control on the razor and it's just a little bit easier for me. So right here, what I'm doing is I'm just pulling the edge of the hair system, the very front, the lip that I'm about to take off, and I'm just applying a little bit of pressure so that way I can cut a nice taut straight line across the front of the hair system and remove any of the extra poly that does not have any hair on it. Now, once again, you don't need to worry about if you do nick a couple of the hairs at the front. It's not the biggest deal ever. Now, for doing this right here, you don't need to use a template because all you're doing is removing part of the hair system that doesn't have any hair on it. And if you order a regular unit without any recession, it should automatically give you the right hairline unless you are looking for some frontal recession. Now, what I'm doing, I'm just simply cutting through the front of the unit where there is no hair, and I am pulling taut on this part of the poly so that way there's some tension, and we're just removing the extra poly right here. All right, so now we have cut the very front of our hair system so that way we've gotten any of the excess poly or lace off of the unit, so we're good to go there. Now, the next step that we're gonna be doing is shaping this hair system to our hair system template. So what you're gonna need to grab now is your hair system template. So grab yours and follow me back into the video. All right, so we now have our hair system template. We have our template right here. What we're gonna first do is we're gonna flip this over. All right, so there we go. This is the front of our hair system. This is the back down here. Remember, we can see the code right here, and that signifies that it's the back of the unit. So as we can see, the front of our hair system is gonna match up right with the front of our template. But as you can see, this hair system is way too big for my personal template. And that means that we have a little bit of work to do to make sure that it is the right size. So the first thing that you need to do is make sure that your template is actually inside out, because we are actually putting the if you flip your unit inside out, we're gonna make sure that it is corresponding to your head in the right way, or else we'll have a mirror image. So all you have to do is just flip it inside out. And then the first step is we are going to match our hair system template to the very front of this hair system right here. Now, it looks like this particular unit, we're gonna have to start cutting a little bit at the front. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually, you wanna keep tension on this unit right here if you have it on a bowl or a mannequin. Now, you can use some bobby pins and put them in through the top of your template, through your unit, so that way they're staying together, or you can hold it down by putting pressure on it. And if you do that, make sure that you keep consistent pressure on it, so that way it's not moving around. All right, so we're gonna begin by cutting right here. So I'm gonna use a razor, and the reason I use a razor is because I can get very, very precise with this. The reason that we're doing this upside down is because if we cut with a razor while this unit is upside down, we are guaranteed to not cut the hairs on the opposite side of this. An important thing for you to know is that you don't want to cut the hairs inside of the hair system, what we're going to keep. If you do that, those hairs will wind up short and it'll be a very unnatural look. So now at the end of the video, I'll show you another way that people do this, and I'll explain to you why it's a little bit tougher and a little bit more time consuming. But for this right here, it's really important that when you use a razor that you are very, very gentle with it. So it's going to look like I'm putting a lot of pressure on this hair system right here, but I'm really not. In fact, I'm barely scratching it. And the reason for that is I'm just trying to barely create an incision on this hair system. Now, when you finally cut through, you'll feel it starting to snag a little bit. It'll start to pull a little bit, and that's how you know that you're cutting through the material. Now, you don't want to go any harder than that because you don't want to start cutting the actual hair on the other side of this unit. Make sure that you keep pressure as you're doing this work right here, or else it's very possible that your hair system could slip underneath. So you'll see that I'm starting to mimic the line of my template that I just made with this hair system right here, and it's starting to give way. As I'm doing this, I'm making sure that I'm not putting too much pressure to cut through the unit, and I'm testing to see if it's cutting. Make sure that you don't stretch out the unit as you do this too, because if you stretch it out, you run the risk of it not actually being matched up to your template. These poly thin skins do have a little bit of stretch in them, so it's hard to get it exactly correct, but the idea is that you should match your template pretty nicely. So this piece is about to release now. Boom, there we go. And we're going to make our way down through here. So we can see we're starting to pick up a little bit of speed, it's starting to get a little bit easier. And this hair right here is no longer attached to our hair system. This is all of the excess hair and material of the base that we are cutting off right now. Don't worry if this takes a little bit of time, especially your first time. It can feel very anxiety producing, because here's the thing. You don't want to mess up your brand new hair system that you just bought, right? You want to take care of it, you want it to last, and cutting it could feel very, very stressful. But it doesn't have to. Recognize that you're not going to make a big mistake. You just need to go slow, take your time, listen to some music while you do this, have a little bit of fun, and it's going to be okay. Okay, so we have a little bit more of the hair system removed, and it's really starting to come out now. We're really starting to see this hair system take shape. We're looking at the back of the hair system right now. This is going to be the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to approach where we just cut. And as you do this, you start to kind of get a feel for the material and how much pressure you have to apply in order to cut through the material, whether it's lace or poly. It can take a bit at first to really kind of get that feeling correct, but once you get it right, it tends to go much quicker. Like, I'm starting to get the feeling of this particular poly, and it's starting to come much faster than when we first started. We can see that it's really starting to release, and we're getting pretty close to the shape of our final hair system. Don't be afraid to pull at it gently like this right here, like I just did. If you pull at it a little bit to just kind of release a little bit of a snag that you have of material that's holding on with poly, it's okay. We're almost there. You can see all this material is starting to come loose now. All right. We are approaching this unit being done. So now we're just going to clean up the very front. Looks like we have to take a little bit off the front hairline to match it up to my particular hair. So we'll just keep on doing the same exact thing, using a very light touch. Nothing too incredible. We're putting the final touches on this. And look at all of this material that just came loose. So I know it can be tough to see what I'm doing, but I'm holding with my index finger. I'm actually holding the plastic taut. I'm not stretching it, but I'm holding it tight. So that way, when my razor touches it, it's more likely to cut through it, if you will, because poly in particular can have some stretch to it, and it can be a little bit tough for the razor to kind of cut through it. But if you hold it tight, like I'm telling you to do, I'm trying to show you how to do, it will, for the most part, just come and release very easily. All right, we now have a hair system that matches our template right here. We used our template in order to cut it down. And now this is perfectly going to match our area of recession, what we're going to shave our head and replace with a hair system. Now, if you use a razor and you have some areas that you want to go back and just smooth out a little bit, you can absolutely do that. It's very easy to do with either a razor or a pair of scissors. Just go back to a little area if you deviated a little bit from your template, and you can go back and cut it. And after that, it should be pretty much ready to go. We did a good job on this hair system right here, so we're not gonna need to do that. But for now, that's all that you really have to do in order to prepare your hair system.